looks like we're recording. We're gonna be reading Clockwork, Your Time Is Up, and I'm going to want to die the entire time. Because this story is fucking terrible.
So should I do it in? Should I do it in the voice?
I mean, you do it in whatever fucking voice you want, bro.
Fuck yeah.
So we're going in Discord order, so it's Darcy first.
Nope.
Garrison's
It's
not.
Oh, Garrison's not reading?
Yeah.
No.
That little bitch.
So basically, we have the main man Darcy here. We've got me, the Giga Chad, and then we've got Kiefer, and then Garrison's our bot lane support because he's too much of a little faggot to read.
Yeah, I'm
Mid or AFK.
Then you're AFK, bro.
This fuck me up juice is not gonna fuck me up enough for fucking Clockwork.
Fuck me up, dude.
So yeah, just kind of read until you can't anymore, I guess is what we're doing.
All right, I think I'm gonna read till David stop. Sound good?
David stop.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Should I mute my mic?
No, it's actually
for when I
broken.
laugh, or
No.
Oh no,
I don't
those
laugh,
break up.
Laugh.
okay.
Laugh right now, Kiefer.
Actually, what the story is
because I have a fake laugh and then I have a real
broken
laugh.
up into
Fuck you, kid.
chunks. But there.
You, Giga Chad.
Well, I mean, the chunks are long. Just kind of read until you feel like the other person should go, and then just say next.
All right. So I'm gonna read till David stop it.
Okay.
Okay. A little girl sat in her room. Her messy brown hair was put into little pig. Her hazel eyes stared at the door. She hugged a stuffed giraffe close to her little body and listened closely to the loud yells of her father and mother. I never should have had any damn kids, screamed a loud, deep voice. All they do is make messes, complain, and draw on the walls. He was interrupted by a shrill, angry yell of the girl's mother.
It's been so long since I've read this story, and I'm beginning to remember how much I fucking hate it.
They're children, David! They don't know any better! Oh, fuck me, Macbeth!
Mary Beth.
Beth?
It's even worse.
Oh god, now we really know how bad it's gonna get.
I don't want to hear any of your bullshit excuses. I've had just about enough of them. And what do you plan to do about it? The girl heard loud footsteps coming together her room, and she hugged the giraffe closer towards her room. My apologies. The door opened violently, and in the doorway stood a large, infuriated, overweight father. In one of his meaty hands, he held a large textbook.
David, stop it! Screamed her mother, but the father ignored his wife's pleading cries. He grabbed the little girl harshly by the collar, and she screamed and kicked, trembling in fear. The girl's father held up the textbook. Sorry, the next line. This is for drawing
Don't read ahead.
fucking walls, you little bitch.
Italian mother is back.
An Italian mother.
Years later, the little girl known as Natalie was now 9 years old, going through the stage of puberty, the only one at 9.
Yeah, 9 years old.
She was naturally a little chubby. Like the usual. She sat in... That's a fucked...
This is getting a little saucy for me.
She sat in her room watching TV. Her dad was ranting on about some economic crap. Her dad is Alex
Her dad is Alex Jones.
That is
I was gonna make a
The
joke.
goddamn globalists are ruining this country, and they're turning everybody gay. Like, next week, Mary Beth, I'm gonna divorce you for Stevenson at the Starbucks, okay?
Mary.
I'm prepping you, and it's not because I'm actually gay and don't love you. It's because of the globalists, okay?
Natalie's dad running to Natalie's room about to beat her ass. Come here, coward!
You're not an intellectual.
You're not an intellectual.
Her dad was ranting on about some economic crap that she could really give less of a shit about, so she cared.
Mm-hmm.
As she munched on some popcorn. She was also currently drawing a picture. There was a bit of gore in it, but strangely, she liked drawing blood. It
Realistic
gave her
blood.
some weird
Hyper-realistic blood.
satisfaction.
Ooh, so quirky.
Other than that, multitasking was no problem for her. It became apparent to her at a young age, after having to do so much hard work and labor, that she was able to... What hard work and labor? That she was able to do so many things at once. Is she working at the fucking docks at 9 years old? Like, what?
Sweatshop.
Drawing ended up being her talent and passion. It was her way from escaping reality, whenever something bad would rear its ugly head and peer in, or when she was simply bored. She suddenly heard the closing of her door, and looked to her left. Kiefer is getting the part. Pausing on munching her popcorn, there stood her brother Lucas, who was 14 years old. Go ahead, Kiefer. You're gonna hate me. You're really gonna hate me in a minute.
It's
So
gonna
that-
be in
bro-
Carl Weezer's voice. All right.
Oh, Jesus.
Just do Lucas's lines in Carl Weezer's voice.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna do everything in Carl Weezer's. It's Carl Weezer reading the story.
If you do that, you
Okay.
will ruin the character for yourself.
Yeah.
The character of Carl Weezer.
Okay.
Just
Just
do the
warning you.
dialogue. Yeah, like, you're about to really hate us.
What is it? She could still hear her father's yelling from outside her door. Dad scaring you? He let out a chuckle. No way. I think we're both used to his yelling by now. There was a long pause. So, why are you in here? He played with his sleeves slightly and twitched a bit. I have to ask you something. He trained his eyes on her. She frowned slightly, growing impatient with her brother interrupting her movie and drawing. What? He moved a little closer. You said you wanted to be a cool, grown-up, a teenager, right? She nodded and suddenly brightened up. Okay. Oh, I have an offer. Just spit it out, you dimwit. You know what?
Read it. Read it.
Did he leave?
He laughed. It broke him.
Refuse! I refuse!
No.
No!
You have to carry on.
No! No!
Drink your fuck me up juice.
It's empty. I already drank the whole bottle.
Get another one.
Just read this line and then Darcy will take it.
Fuck's no, fine, I'll do it. Fine, I'll do it. Jesus Christ,
Start from the
no!
beginning of the line.
Why is it... It's so early in the story!
I forgot it was this early.
Okay, here we go. What is it? She could still hear her father yelling from outside her door. Dad scaring you? He let out a chuckle. No way. I think we're both used to his yelling by now. There was a long pause. So why are you in here? He played with his sleeves slightly and twitched a bit. I have to ask you something. He trained his eyes on her. She frowned slightly, growing impatient with her brother interrupting her movie and drawing. What? He moved a little closer. You said you wanted to be a grown-up, like a teenager, right? She nodded and suddenly brightened up slightly. Well, I have an offer, Jimbo. Spit it out, you dimwit. You know what, So, you know what guys and girls do together sometimes, right? The next day at school, Natalie did not say a word. She did not speak for the whole day. She didn't have anyone to speak to anyways. Nobody could know. Nobody should know. And so, nobody would know. Her teacher picked up on a few of her puzzled expressions, but she dismissed it as if she was just not understanding the lesson. Natalie also felt as if she was in severe pain. She had no idea it could hurt. Feeling scared, she walked home and silently went to her room. But later in the day, she was once again greeted by her brother. Nobody would know. At school, she finally decided to tell about someone. Even though they weren't friends, she just felt she had to. She walked up to the group of girls she would occasionally see in the hallway. They looked like nice girls, but they and Natalie had occasionally talked before. Hey, me... The ginger girl looked over at Natalie with a straight face. Yeah? Mia said to Natalie. I, really need to talk to you about something. Okay, someone else can go. I need to go kill myself real quick. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Jesus.
That is not.
It's like the fifth paragraph.
And she's 9! She's literally actually a 9-year-old girl. I mean,
And
like,
what is her? Is it her cousin or her brother?
Her brother, I think.
Japan.
But it's so fucking. Like, this literally 12-year-old girl has the fucking gonads to try to do this fucked up shit in their story, and they handle it so poorly. So poorly.
Even for misery porn, it's fucking. Oh my god! Like
this is. I fucking hate this story.
You know what? Just thank God they don't go into any detail
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
True.
Thank God. They literally just.
That's literally the only way this story could get worse. And don't worry, it goes in, if I remember this story correctly, it goes into, like, really excruciating detail about gore later on, which is always fun.
But
realistic blood.
Honestly, though, I don't mind gore nearly as much as I would mind a 9-year-old rape scene.
This is fucked. Literally, the only way this story could be worse is if they went into detail on that. So thank God they didn't.
Fuck. So I guess this is me, right?
Yeah.
It's been going on for a while. And you and your friends, well, I feel like you'd be the... Oh, this isn't in quotation marks. So this is her saying, I thought this was the narrator, because it's not...
To die.
Fuck it. This is her voice now. Well, I feel like the only people I can trust. Me and her friends seem to pull little smirks, but only for a moment. Little did Natalie know they were... Wait, did it just drop from...
Remember, these are 9-year-old girls.
No, sorry.
Yes.
It just dropped from her talking to the narrator.
I forgot quotations. Yeah, big meme, big meme. We just like after.
It's not just that they forgot for quotations, just how it's like structured.
No, yeah, it's bad. The story's written like shit.
Little did Natalie know they were hungry for gossip, as 9-year-olds tend to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
No fucking 9-year-olds act like this.
I feel like
the person has never been 9.
I feel like it would be better if they just changed the main character's age.
To like 14 maybe.
14 makes a lot more sense, you know, for the incest, but...
Incest rape? I don't know. I feel like...
I feel like at 9, you know, having been 9 at one point in my life, nobody, like, you know, like, drama at 9 was somebody cheated in tag. Right? Like,
Japan.
Well, no, I feel like at
You're forgetting
9
Japan.
it was a lot more.
First off, the story doesn't take place in Japan. Second off,
Maybe the author is a weeb.
When you're 9 years old, I feel like it's a lot more than you got cheated by in tag.
oh, don't get me wrong. The author is definitely a weeb. That's not up for dispute.
but, like, yeah, like 9-year-old girls aren't going to be hungry for gossip.
No, you're forgetting. They're not going to write the character as being 14 because they want to misery porn it up and the author is 12. So they got to do it even younger than the author is if you really want to get that fucking misery porn in.
No, just read.
Yeah, man.
I really want this to be done.
Alright. Alright. You can trust us. What's up, slut?
Whoa!
One day later was all it took. She had been getting constant remarks on social networking site. Non-specific
At 9!
social
Who's on
networking
Facebook
site.
at 9 years old? Like, what?
Such as, oh, sorry, I did say non-specific, but then the next, after the comment is such as Facebook, so my bad.
Yeah.
Such as Facebook. One time, someone even called her a whore.
Like, what 9-year-old?
Yeah, I definitely didn't know the word whore at night. A couple bad words, but not like whore.
Well, and also, I wouldn't call somebody a whore at 9.
But
You
like,
know?
you know, when you're 9, like, you know, like, fuck. And
Yeah, you
that's
know
the big
fucking,
word.
Like crap, right?
Like, you know.
Baby damn.
The N-word, depending on where you live.
Yeah, if you're Sweet Home Alabama, you know the N-word.
Not to mention, their lunch had ended up getting in her hair. It was going to be the least of her problems, but Natalie, being only 9, could not help but get greatly upset by this fact. Yeah, no shit!
It's
I'd be pretty upset too, and I'm not 9. If my brother raped me, and then
yeah, I'd be a little bit perturbed.
a little bit miffed, gotta say.
I'd be a tad jaded.
However, she did not cut. Courtney, she's 9.
Like,
She's 9.
it's 9-year-old girls do not have the thought process of adult human beings or like high school kids.
I didn't know what cutting was when I was 9, and I imagine
Right?
9-year-old saying.
When I was 9 years old, when somebody said cutting, I thought they meant either cutting food or firewood.
Yeah.
She did not cut. She did not peep, and she
Peep
never said a
what?
word about it.
She didn't peep what?
I don't know. I don't know what it means by peep, because usually to
Like,
not
we
peep
talking-
would
we
mean never
talking-
saying a word about it.
Not making a peep. But when you
did
are
not
not
peep.
when you are not peeping, that is not looking at something, right?
Peep can also mean, I don't know why it would apply here, but peep can also mean to spy on.
Yeah. Well, but it's
But
like
that doesn't make any sense here.
yeah, exactly. Like, what kind of peep are we talking? Little bow? Like, there's no fucking context to.
Again, I feel like though there's probably worse things to get upset about in this story than this
Yeah,
one.
true. I just don't want to think about. Like, I am very
Right,
upset about the
yeah.
peep. I just don't
It's we're
wanna,
just gonna take it out on everything else because we don't want to focus on that. That's
yeah,
fair.
I don't want to think about the incest, so I want to take it out. Like, I'm gonna fucking.
The 9-year-old incest rape? Yeah, I
I'm
understand.
gonna ass blast this story in every other aspect because I don't really want to talk about the one that's actually making me very pissed off.
As you may recall, so far in this journey, she had kept everything inside. She supposed it was better. She wouldn't let any pain get the best of her. Alright, I'm taking out. Who's in?
3 a.m. school night. Her mother was going to kill her. The girl known as Natalie was now 16. She was productive in high school, close to the honor roll. For once, she felt calm and happy.
How about... Why didn't they put the rape scene when she was 16 and not 9, huh?
It would have made so much
Because it
more
wouldn't be as
sense.
shocking.
Because they had
Not
to
that
give...
I'm
they had to
condoning
give her-
16-year-old incest rape.
No.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know.
It would have
wouldn't
been more
have as much of an
tasteful if
effect.
it was 16, you know, not
For
as a
sure, for sure.
9-year-old.
Well, and I feel like it also would have
No.
made sense. Like she would probably have Facebook at 16, and
But,
And not 9.
people
As
would
far as tasteful, I
insult her
refuse to
over
believe
Facebook.
that this author could do an incest rape scene at any age tastefully.
True.
When I was 9 years old, the only, like, social media I had was Kick.
True.
I had Kick, and that was it.
Club Penguin.
That was the extent of it, you know? Like, Club Penguin, Pop Tropica.
Dude, okay, don't
Grindr.
even fucking, don't even
Grindr
hate on
at 9.
Pop Tropica, right? Like,
No, I'm not even hating on Pop
I'm putting
Tropica.
my hands up. If anyone in this call says one bad word about Pop Tropica, I'm going fucking nuclear.
I don't even know what Pop Tropica is.
Then you can't talk shit about it.
Nah, I didn't plan on it.
She was productive at high school, though, like the usual, she would occasionally become a hermit in her room, hiding away from her dad, who still liked to constantly yell and scream about the economy, money, and politics, and all the other bullshit that she was flat out tired of hearing.
The brain chemicals no wonder to turn the frickin' frogs gay!
I think the most unrealistic part about this is
What
she
is
hasn't
tap
even
water?
started her place
That's
yet.
a gay bomb, baby!
God, if I keep drinking at the rate I am, you're gonna be able to use my blood to sterilize.
Her
Not
eyes
gonna
started
stop me,
to
though.
feel heavy. She had an assignment to work on, but that was no longer important to her. All that was on her mind was sleep. She closed her laptop, and after her eyes adjusted to the darkness slightly, she saw her old, worn-down stuffed giraffe in the corner. She stared at it in complete and utter silence. Memories passed through her mind, and she felt tears come to her eyes, but quickly blinked them back. No more breaking, she thought to herself, but continued to stare at it. What the fuck are you looking at? She said to the stuffed object. It simply stared back with soft, black, beady eyes. She shook her head and stood up, and looked down sadly at the little toy animal, and picked it up in her arms. She cradled it and spoke softly to it. I'm sorry, Dimitri. Some tears ran down her face. She pet its rough, short fur softly as she lay down on the bed. She slowly went to sleep. She was woken up by the angry growls of her mother. Exhausted, she slowly...
Her mother is a bear.
Yeah, her mother... I can't believe I forgot to take that laptop away. You were on it all night, weren't you? Natalie sighed and pressed her face deeper into the pillow. Hugging her giraffe closer, her mother sighed and walked out. She took a shower, brushed her teeth, and ate some breakfast. But then she got dressed. She put on a gray and blue hoodie with fur inside her hood. It wasn't her favorite, but it was the only one she could wear to schools, due to the others being in the wash.
How dramatic.
She put on black jeans and some thin, fashionable boots.
She wore fucking Uggs? How dare she?
She went down the stairs to get driven to school. She hopped in the car and her mom sped off. Gas, gas, gas.
She
Gotta
hopped
step
in-
on the gas.
No.
Tonight's the night.
She hopped in the wrong car.
You see my Uber?
She like gets in the car in the driveway and she sees the car do a U-turn like outside of the driveway. She sees the car do a U-turn and speed off. She goes, ah shit, wrong one.
Next, Kiefer, go.
That moment when you go to pick your kid up from school, then remember you don't have a kid.
Bruh.
Me sitting in kindergarten as they're letting the kids out. Teacher walks up to me. So which one's yours? Me. I don't know. Haven't decided yet.
Got him.
Dab, dab, dab. Okay. However, on the way there, due to lack of sleep, she slowly put her head against the window of the car and began to drift off.
I can't fucking handle you narrating in Carl Weezer's voice.
Hey, bro. I will have to hit you with penis music.
No, we'll get copyright stricken.
Her
I'll just do it
dreams,
with my mouth.
or more accurately, nightmares, consisted firstly of her physical abuse as a child, and secondly of the sexual abuse she has suffered at the hands of her own brother. Lucas, the abuse, had lasted for 4 years before she had the guts to turn him away. She started twitching and cringing in her sleep. Cringe! Cringe! It's cringe, bro! Bro, you just...
Just make me cringe!
Bro, did you seriously just post cringe? Ew!
This story, it's making me cringe.
But her mother took no notice. Her mother never took notice. Suddenly, she was jolted awake by the sound of her mother's voice. We're here, her mother said with annoyance in her voice, most likely from catching Natalie napping again. She looked at the large sign of the school, which read, Walkerville Collegiate Institute for the Creative Fine Arts. She sighed tiredly and stepped out, putting her backpack over her shoulder. See ya, she proclaimed and closed the car door. She walked into the school and chatted with a couple of friends until she went up to her locker on the 3rd floor. She grabbed her books, then before the 5 minutes of time was over, she ran to class. This hurts my voice. Her English teacher annoyingly put her hand on Natalie's desk. Colonel, where's the assignment? Next.
Alright, Darcy, go.
Alright.
You
Also,
can
I'd like
say
to
the
point
name
out,
of
so
the teacher, which is probably
we
one of
have-
the funniest things in the story.
By the simple fact that this person is aware of the 5-minute spell, the writer is not in elementary school. We've learned that much.
She's probably in middle school.
Oh, right, they have that.
Yeah, we're not.
Would you believe that they get bullied and that's why they made this story?
Yeah, not all of us.
No,
are
they
giga
made
brains
this.
Like us.
They made
We
the
can
story because they
bypass-
read Jeff the Killer.
No.
Ooh,
reason.
yeah.
You'll see why at the end.
No,
I mean,
don't
like,
tell me.
Darcy, you have to remember that not all kids are giga brain like us and can just go from elementary direct to post-secondary.
Literally, what scrubs? Alright. Natalie swallowed.
Okay, bro, no.
Stop.
You're not allowed
Stop.
to make sexual innuendos in this story.
Stop.
because-
Hey, it's this. All I did was
bet she did
exert
swallow
air
Darcy,
for my
I bet
lungs.
she-
Yeah, she fucking did.
You want to go into detail? 'Cause I
I bet
go
she
into
did.
detail about Natalie swallowing. You
That's the
fucking
story, not me.
bastard. You sick
Bitch.
bastard.
Bitch, don't accuse me of this shit. I ain't straight.
Yeah, you're right. You're not.
Which is probably why he likes it. What?
Bruh, bruh,
Bitch.
bruh, 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 bruh.
Alright, also, if you ever read anything in Carl Weezer's voice again, I'm going to harvest your liver.
Darcy needs it. He's consumed too much tequila.
Natalie swallowed. I, forgot it at home, Miss. Sorry, Miss. Home Nook? Homer? Homer Nook? Homer Nook? Homer Nook?
Yike.
She is home nook from now on.
I want to say
Homie,
home
Homie Nookie. Homie Nookie.
Nuka.
Your time is up, Miss Oulette. Don't disappoint me. Natalie seemed puzzled by the thought. For a moment, she didn't know why, but those words seemed to melt through her. She simply ignored it and went back to listening to the lesson and falling asleep not too long after, of course. Later that day, she was heading to her locker on the 4th floor period when suddenly her boyfriend, Chris, approached her. Okay, I'd like to quickly point out, Jesus Christ, these sentences are Comma City. Like,
Your mom is Comma City, bro.
I'm not. These pauses for dramatic effect are not me. They're the
No,
story.
there's so many. It's because if you just put commas everywhere, you look really smart.
Or you don't know how to end a sentence.
No, those are ellipses. You gotta fill sentences with ellipses. That's how you look smart.
Hey, talk to me after school. All right? Oh, sorry. I thought that was Chris.
One!
She smiled.
One!
She loved talking to Chris.
I'm gonna kill all of you.
At the time, she didn't suspect anything. Chris was always sweet to her. During her French lesson, Natalie failed to pay attention.
Oh.
Instead, she
Can I please do
doodled.
the French teacher?
No.
Yes.
She doodled the things she loved to draw.
Sorry, majority rules. Finn, do the French teacher.
Yeah, after this paragraph, I'm
Go.
going over.
And people being stabbed. Knives. And macabre things of that sort.
And this bitch got a boyfriend.
I mean, it's not
I
that
would
hard.
I would not date this cunt.
Yeah, but like, you don't understand. Getting a boyfriend significantly easier than getting
I true.
you know. You literally just
Yeah.
reach your hand in there and pull one out.
Honestly, her boyfriend's probably like an ultra simp or something.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt.
Just give him Sonic the Hedgehog's voice.
I will.
One!
Alright!
Otherwise,
Time to juice and jam!
otherwise would say it was pretty dark of her to draw such things. But she saw nothing wrong with it. For some strange reason, it actually felt like a normal thing to her.
Miss Olette! She quickly covered the doodle. Oh, do you want to keep...
Nah, just go on from there, yeah.
She quickly covered the doodles on her paper and looked up at her French teacher quickly, trying to hide her fear. Yes, I don't know what to do for clockwork, hang on. Yes, Mr. Levasseur? With a slight turn of his head, he gestured for her to move her arm. Haha, show me your meme! She hesitantly moved her arm, showing the teacher the picture of someone getting stabbed by an insane man. The teacher stared.
Is this a Jeff the Killer reference?
Probably. Looking at her a bit, she smiled nervously. Hi, erase that and get started on your work.
Erase it! Erase it?
He said in a strange...
Can't waste the piece of paper, better erase the entire drawing.
He walked away and she sighed and began to erase the picture. And Miss Olette, Mr. Levasseur interrupted. She looked up at him slightly. Your time is almost up. To get your work done, I suggest doing it now. She growled at that remark. Time always seemed to be against her. As far as she was concerned, time could go fuck itself. After class...
Hey, time, go fucking fuck yourself!
Hey, time, go fucking suck my nods. After class, she walked out of the school to find her boyfriend standing near the fence on the sidewalk. She smiled and looked over, hoping he had something to say, that would cheer her up on this miserable day. But as he walked closer, her smile faded. He wasn't smiling back. Chris, what's Chris, what's wrong? What did you want to talk to me about?
I love how every time we've done Natalie's voice, we've changed it.
I mean, I think, well, she's such a nondescript character.
It's true.
He sighed.
She has no qualities.
Natalie, I think it's time that we should end, that we should start seeing other people. She felt her heart break. But why? Natalie cried. He responded with a stern look.
Sugma.
It's your mindset. Your drawings, they just creep me out. I think there's really something wrong with you. And the saddest part is, you haven't told me why you're acting like this. It makes me feel irresponsible. So I just can't do it anymore. I'm sorry. And with that, he walked away. Yeah, because the responsible thing to do is basically say, hey, go fuck yourself. Very responsible, Chris.
I mean, yeah, I'd like the responsible thing would probably like talk to her counselor.
Talk to her, maybe ask her. Like,
Yeah,
this
but-
guy sounds like a complete simp. Like, he probably didn't even ask her what was wrong. It's like, talk to your fucking girlfriend.
But then again, this is a
Instead of just being
relationship.
like, hey, you
Or maybe-
Jeff the Killer, go fuck yourself. That's a cringy story.
On the other hand, this is a 16-year-old relationship, so
Sure.
this doesn't actually sound that unrealistic.
Yeah,
the guy
I probably
leaving for
shouldn't-
really
I
minor
shouldn't
reasons that he
put-
thinks is
Yeah, like I
something
shouldn't put
dramatic.
This shitty 16-year-old relationship.
Again, we have to give the main character more trauma,
standards.
so we're just gonna put her through the most shitty situation in all of
Yeah,
situations.
Oh yeah, a high school breakup.
Bro, my life is basically over, dude. My boyfriend, Chris,
Wait,
broke up with me because he said that I drew Jeff the Killer. Alright, next, by the way. Hello? Uh-oh.
Okay.
all right, where were we at?
I wanted somebody to, go next at, Natalie slammed her hands on the bathroom counter at home.
I think it's my turn.
All right.
Natalie slammed.
No, 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 no.
Boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, boom. Boom, bam, boom, boom, bam, boom.
No.
What's wrong with it?
Let him do it. Let him.
So much.
It's so
I
wrong.
am recording. Let him do it. I am God here.
I need more.
He needs more bad juice. Natalie slammed her hand on the bathroom counter at home. She stared at herself in the mirror, her eye twitching. I won't hurt myself, like the others. I can stay strong. There was a needle and black thread in her hand. It's pointless. It doesn't help. Some weird sensation pulled at her subconscious. She chuckled slightly. No, I'm doing it because I want to. She held the needle with thread on the end of it and smirked. Time is up.
Your time is up. Your time is now.
Now you can't see.
You can't see me. Your time is now.
It's the franchise, but I'm shining now.
Piece after piece, cut after cut. Even though excruciating pain wasn't going through her, she did not whine. She did not whimper. She did not cry. There was no more,
piss her pants.
there were no more tears to shed. All she did was smile. Blood leaked from the pierces and made a low dripping noise in the sink and onto the counter. When she was finished, she stood stood back and admired her handiwork. She stroked the horrendous stitches on the sides of her mouth, which spread into a wide smile. Alright. She felt the warm, wet blood on her fingers, and licked it gently, consuming the metallic-tasting liquid in pure ecstasy.
Ooh, this is
Oh, this is getting some Jeff the Killer vibes right now.
Jeff 2015 fucking.
She stopped when she saw her mother's reflection in the mirror behind her and sharply turned around. She saw her mother's wide eyes and pale face. She looked at her fingers, seeing the blood. She suddenly felt pain and began to cry. Mom! Natalie cried. She had never felt so confused. What had just happened to her?
Whoa, kind of wacky.
Hey
Stitching your mouth, kind of fucking.
there, gamers!
It's kinda quirky, not gonna lie.
There, gamers. This is a short PSA. Actually, don't hurt yourself. It's really dumb. Don't do it.
Simps going in her DMs like, please ma'am, let me private message you.
Allow me to bear your emotional burden.
Please ma'am, let me private message you, please ma'am.
Would you do the honor of bestowing upon me your PMs?
Send feet pics.
Send feed pics. Yeah, I do her laundry, and I make sure her boyfriend and her are having good relations, and I cook dinner for her, but I get feed pics in return, so it's all fine.
It's all good.
It's all good.
About being like so pussy whipped that I'm not even recognizable as a human being anymore, and I'm basically a fucking dog.
I become a servant.
I've become a subclass.
Her mother had scheduled some therapy for her. Natalie had gone... Her mother had scheduled some therapy for her. Natalie had not gotten rid of the stitches in fear of how much pain it would bring, so she went to the session with them. She made sure her hood was up as to not let anyone see. She sat down on the comfortable leather seat and stared at the blonde woman across from her in silence. So, your name is, your name is, Natalie, isn't it? Natalie nodded. I'm, I have two daughters, Sasha and Malia, and, I'm here to help. Now, tell me, Natalie, what have been some of your, problems recently?
The fucking McDonald's counselor all over again.
For me, it is, the, terroristic threat over in the Middle East, known as, Al-Qaeda.
It has been bringing me quite a bit of stress recently.
Natalie stared. Time has been... Time has been my problem.
Get ready for the most edge ever.
Deborah gave her a confused look. What about, time? My dear? Natalie's hands roughly gripped the leather of the seat. Everything. It makes you live through it, slowly progressing through life, being controlled by society. Society? Only getting towards you to seemingly no end.
Do we live in? Fuck off. This story's so stupid.
Until you find you no longer have a purpose. It's a vicious cycle. Time does not end. It does not slow down. It does not speed up. It is violent. It makes you live through the torture over and over again, unable to fast forward through any of it. What do you get? When a mentally deranged, societal outcast gets laughed at. You get what you fucking deserve.
Fuck this story. Get
Spoilers for the
fucking
Joker
stuck,
movie.
You goddamn edgy piece of crap.
You see, the thing between my
What do you get when you cross a Jeff the Killer fan with a 9-year-old incest rape scene?
You get what you fucking
You get what you
deserve.
fucking deserve, and what you deserve is a fucking shitty story.
Fuck this story.
Okay, the
This
edge.
story's so hard.
The difference between the edginess of my Pathfinder character and the edginess of this abomination is at least I embraced the edge. Okay, at least we.
This is unironic edge.
At least we all know
Edge.
that I am jokingly have the edgy character, and it's just kind of become a meme now.
Yeah, no, this is unironic edge.
And also, we can't really make fun of my character because it does the most DPS. Darcy and I literally did the math.
This is unironic fucking edge.
I've actually taken psychic damage.
Don't worry, I have the medallion
No,
against
seriously
any
though,
negative damage.
fuck this story. Fuck
Yeah,
this story
fuck
as
this
hard
story.
as this boy fucked his 9-year-old sister.
I'm gonna go get a beer after that one. I'm gonna get another beer after that one. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Darcy, go.
Okay. Natalie had no idea what she had just said. She felt like she wasn't
Oh, you
herself
get the
anymore.
edgiest line in the entire story. Enjoy.
Could this be because of all things she had kept contained? No. That was impossible. But for some strange reason, she liked it. The therapist leaned in closer. Sweetheart, I wanted to tell you. I want you to tell me. What's happened to you? Natalie continued staring. There was a long pause. She smirked slightly. The wounds from her stitches opened slightly once again. Why don't you tell me, Blondie? You're the expert. Deborah appeared mildly annoyed. Now, Natalie, I can't help you unless you're telling me what's wrong. Natalie's fingers started to tear into the leather seating. Natalie isn't here anymore.
Fuck you. Fucking fuck this author.
Ah! Physical
Here
pain.
anymore. Natalie isn't here.
Physical pain from reading that.
You can leave a message at the dial tone. Fuck off.
With that, Deborah's eyes widened, and she rose to her feet. Wait, is that the right rose?
So I don't think so. I don't know English. It's only my first language.
Fair. Imagine learning multiple languages.
Pourquoi? C'est bon.
Bitch.
Quand tu peux parler
Bitch.
deux langues, c'est très bon.
Bitch, is that the right rose in French?
Non. C'est pas le bon rose en France.
I'll be right back. Sorry, I'll be right back. Please stay here.
So you're telling me that a fucking trained therapist
Oh, it gets so.
get
Finn,
takes it
you
serious.
know.
Okay, no, hear me out. Let me fucking finish, okay? A trained therapist takes it seriously when a kid goes on a fucking joke or rant about society and time, and then says Natalie isn't here anymore.
Okay, I'm gonna read up until the really, really edgy line.
Which
What
is...
the fuck happened when
No,
I
you'll
left?
see.
What the fuck
She walked
happened?
out, leaving Natalie alone. Maybe if she had done something at this point, she wouldn't have come to be what she was today. Maybe more people would be alive. Maybe she wouldn't be same like she had been before. Jesus Christ, the front loading.
Oh,
As much as
epic foreshadowing.
much as
Oh yeah, I see the line. I see the
I-
fucking line.
As much as I would love to say that, Natalie got up from the chair and stopped.
Oh, I
what
think
came
I
next
get my
from
favorite line in the entire story.
happening, I'm obligated to give you the horrid truth. The narrator has gone from a third-person character to a second-person character. For no reason.
I'm very scared.
Natalie did not move. She sat perfectly still, in total silence, and absolutely calm.
I like how you
In
criticized me for using that voice in the last fucking story that
in
we
the
recorded. The
in
fucking.
that no, we didn't record that story. I criticized you for reading it in the McDonald's story.
Well, true. Okay, that was the McDonald's one, wasn't it?
In that chair, and after a while of waiting impatiently, her parents walked in. Natalie stood, happy to go, but she noticed her parents' expressions. Even her father had a strange, saddened expression on his face. The chemicals in the water, they made my daughter gay.
They turned my water. They turned my daughter.
They turned my water
God
gay.
damn it, they gave her tap water at the school. It's a gay bomb, baby.
It's a gay bomb, baby.
Her confusion grew, but she said nothing and followed them to the car. On the way, while she thought she was going back home, she started to drift off. Strangely, she heard a voice speak in her dream. It almost sounded like her own, echoing into an eternal abyss.
Just like my soul.
Your time is up! Your time is now! You can't see me! Your time is now! It's a
French
French!
pass, but I'm shining now.
I hate this.
Alright, who's taking the next line?
So,
I think it's
can I
me,
kill?
right?
Can I kill
It is you.
myself now, or should I do it after the story?
After
We need you!
No.
We need you!
Shut awake. Some beads of sweat
No, we're not doing that voice.
on her face. She
It's so painful to listen to. Like, you don't
Does a
understand.
dishonor to him, to be honest. He's better than this story. He's so... Although... What would you guys give to get a George Takei reading crappy creepypastas?
I would pay a lot of money.
I would pay my left arm.
I'd pay my left testicle. She was in a bed, a white bed, in a white room. She looked to her
With
side
black curtains
and
at the
realized-
station.
Shut up. Darcy, you need to shut the fuck up. She was hooked up to a heart monitor. She had attempted to get up, but that's when she realized that she was restrained.
Now, if I remember correctly, this is where the Matrix scene comes in,
Yeah,
right?
pretty much. This is where the mental drugs happen. She began. I wish I was on fucking mental drugs right now. She
Oh, right, I forgot!
She began to struggle, but paused when she heard a door open to her left. A man in a white shirt looked at her.
You mean a doctor?
Hands behind
With black
his back.
curtains.
He resembled one of those cliched docs. Fuck off! This entire story, besides the
He's a
faces-
stock image doctor?
Cliched
Hello, it's me,
doctor
Professor
was
Stock
seen
Image.
in a
Doctor
television
JPEG.
Dr.
set in a
JPEG?
scientific lab. She paid full attention as Mr. Scientist started to speak. I can only imagine how very confused you must be right now.
We
It
must
is
do it.
me,
in the
Dr. PNG.
Yes.
It is me,
Doc-
Dr. PNG.
It
from
is Dr.
Google
Blatt.
Images Stock
Hello.
Image.
But I let
I
you
am
know,
here to
we're only
let
here
you
to
know
help.
We're only here to help. Your parents agreed to allow us to administer medication to you in hopes of helping your state of mind. Natalie opened her mouth to protest, but was quickly silenced. You don't need to worry, the doctor sought to reassure her. We have 10% success rate, very good in Russia.
Yes.
You'll be back to normal in no time. Just try to relax.
I got the next one.
And as he did, He tried to skittishly move away, but was unable due to the leather straps binding her wrists and legs. He carefully took a mask and put it over her mouth and nose. She stubbornly tried to get it off, but felt herself starting to slip under as the drugs kicked in,
The mental drug.
and her eyes shut.
I got this one.
Oh fuck, he gets it, doesn't he?
Suddenly,
Suddenly, Natalie
Stop.
No!
You're not
Alright.
doing my favorite part of the story in the fucking Carl Weezer voice. I just want to say the words mental and drugs, okay?
Alright, I will stop when it says mental drugs. Suddenly,
And it's me reading.
Natalie woke up. She couldn't comprehend what she was seeing. She was being given multiple injections. Something was being rubbed on her skin. She felt
this
woozy.
is how fucking psychiatric help works. You literally
But was-
just become drugs. You're
but was
sitting in a
otherwise-
bed of drugs.
But was otherwise completely aware of her surroundings. She was
Also,
entering
like,
a
how
rare
rich is her
state.
family? Because I assume this takes place in America, right?
Yeah, like this kind of.
So they can afford to go to hospital?
Oh, fucking no.
She was entering a rare state patients sometimes find themselves in while undergoing surgery, in which they are able to see as they are being worked on. In this state, they can feel the pain as their brain is active, but they are unable to respond. Natalie, however, was able to. Her heart rate began to accelerate, as reflected on the nearby monitor, and the doctors took notice of this. They looked at her and took notice of her opened eyes. One of the doctors yelled at another. Natalie couldn't make out what they were saying, but she suddenly felt a rush of adrenaline. Shaking violently, she slowly started to slip out of her bonds. One of the doctors moved to hold her down, but then hesitated to do so. Natalie watched as all three of the doctors backed away in unison. She sat on the edge of the bed, and the IV tubes from her arms and the mask from her face.
Actually, that's the Roman numeral 4.
Oh, it is.
I mean, you're not
She got to-
wrong.
She got to her feet and started to stumble towards them. Her breath hitched and her vision was blurry. She was vaguely aware, but then she was chuckling like. But hold on, let me
You
redo
started
that
clucking.
sentence. Hold on, let me redo that sentence. She was vaguely aware by then that she was chuckling like a madman, but suddenly she felt a searing pain in her chest. She gripped her chest in agony and dropped to her knees. She coughed up blood, fell
Prostrate. Prostrate, oh, the floor.
She coughed up blood, fell prostrate over the floor, and blacked out.
Prostrate, oh, the floor. You have got to be kidding me.
Oh, fuck
Na-
me. Fuck me hard.
Natalie woke up slowly and groggily some time later. She found herself back in bed, and a doctor sitting beside it. I'm so sorry, Natalie. Something. I am so sorry, Natalie. Something went horribly wrong. This usually does not happen, but, you know, I'm...
Suki, prostitutka babushka.
Stop saying your only
Natalie-
Russian phrase. And no,
Natalie-
she's not.
Natalie didn't know why, but she felt a tremendous amount of hatred towards the doctor. He took notice of her disgust and looked away instinctively. How many fucking times are they gonna, say that? The doctor will remember this.
The doctor will.
Like it's some fucking Telltale game.
Clementine will remember that the story.
It does not seem that you were supposed to wake while we gave you the doses for mental state. The doctor continued. We aren't sure how it affected you, but we have feeling we're going to find out.
For your mental state. Doses for your oh my god.
He paused for a moment before taking out a small mirror. The entire time he looked away from her. Regrettably, the medication impacted your appearance as well. Natalie looked at herself in the
What?
mirror.
I forgot about this.
Natalie looked at herself in the mirror and her eyes
Yep.
widened. Her eyes were completely green.
Yep.
That's not how anything works.
Yep.
She noticed she still
Yep.
stitches in her mouth as well, but for some reason she couldn't help but feel overjoyed.
I am in actual physical pain.
Her heart rate began to rise again. She gave a low chuckle. The doctor looked on in shock as Natalie quickly moved toward him until she close enough for him to feel her breath. Doctor, she began, still chuckling. He trembled slightly and pressed a button on the underside of the monitor. Yes, back away, little girl, before I hit you with Panzer. Back away, little girl, before I shoot you with Panzer, yes? Your time is up. A loud scream was
now. You can't see me. Your time is now.
It's a franchise, but I'm shining now.
It's just fucking John Cena every time.
She's John Cena. We found her voice finally.
True.
A
You know what
loud
voice she
scream
has?
was heard
It's
through
John
the halls
Cena.
of the facility. 2 security guards rushed into the room, kicking open the door. Hyper-realistic blood, yes, very good.
Only the most hyper-realistic blood Kiefer.
No, read that entire sentence, Kiefer. Read that entire paragraph, in fact, for us.
Yeah, without breaking.
Blood. I did it without breaking. I almost broke when Finn talked, but I did not break.
Fuck me.
Daddy
Fuck me
pants.
so hard.
Please say
Daddy
next, by
pants.
the way, Kiefer. Give Darcy this. He has to read it without cracking up.
No, I know. Darcy can go.
Alright.
You have to
Blood
not
was-
laugh. At all.
Blood was the first thing they saw. Blood on the wall, on the bed, on the floor.
Coming banging
Even on the ceiling.
It was me coming banging on the counter. I even did her in the shower.
Natalie had strapped the doctor to her bed. The bed was bent at a sharp angle,
Oh wait, no, this isn't the paragraph.
and the doctor's spine was completely snapped. Blood poured from his eyes and nose, mouth, and there, in the corner, was the murderer, happily drawing her gruesome pictures on the wall in blood, alongside the hastily scrawled phrase, "Your time is up. Your
Because
time
we
is now."
have a fucking catchphrase like Jeff the Killer, because that
I'm
story
sorry,
was actually
you-
really good, except it's
you-
not.
You interrupted me before I had time to finish the paragraph? Along the hastily scrawled phrase, "Your time is up. Your time is now. You can't see me. Your time is now."
This meme is being ruined.
Fuck you, I love it. Natalie slowly turned to look at the guard, and a wide, crazy grin spread.
Okay, this is the paragraph you have to do without cracking.
Hello.
Somebody- We should do it in an
Sorry.
uwu voice. Do it in the uwu voice.
I don't know the fucking uwu voice. What do I look like to you?
Shut up. I got this.
Hello, friends?
There you go.
Would you like to play?
There you go. Yes.
And
More
with
of this.
that, Natalie began to launch uncontrollably. The guards began laughing uncontrollably. The guards quickly drew their guns. Before they could act, Natalie charged at one of them. One of the guards fired a round, but Natalie was able to dodge it. She grabbed a large knife from a sheath on his pocket and slashed it right across his
Why
waist.
would a guard have a knife?
That's what you're questioning?
Like,
Blood and
I don't-
organ.
okay,
Sorry.
I don't want to touch the fucking dodging bullets.
Well, wait, okay, then complain about this next line. Blood and organs flooded out, and he collapsed to the ground. She inhaled deeply, loving the deep stench of death.
While she's standing still, shoot the gun at her, dumbass.
Yeah,
The remaining guard shook with fear
because he's a
and
fucking
dropped his
beta.
gun.
He's a
He's a
beta.
beta.
He's like,
She
cock!
slowly walked
The
up to
big
him
cock!
and placed the tip of the knife against his chest.
Oh my god.
What's up? Your time is now.
She slowly slid the knife down his chest, all the way to the end of his abdomen. His organs spilled out onto the floor. Literally all of his organs, internal and external. They just all spilled out and he collapsed dead.
Bro, this next part.
Is yours.
It's
That's
so-
the Matrix scene I was talking about, where she dodges a bullet.
She catches it with her teeth.
She catches it with her hand and sees
So-
his power level is only 5.
Mainly because I want to avoid having to read this next part, I just want to take a minute to talk here and say that I don't necessarily have a problem. Like, I'm not squeamish about gore in stories. I just find that when stories describe gore in such detail, it's just so
Such
fucking-
detail! She cut him across the abdomen and all of his
I'm talking
organs
about the
poured
next
out?
part. I'm talking about the next part.
Oh,
you
right.
Daft piece of crap.
Okay, here's the thing. For gore to even be disturbing, it has to be done well, not just done a lot.
Well, and it's also like I just find when it's described in such detail, it's just so boring. It's just
That's
so
what I mean.
fucking boring.
It has to be done well, not just done a lot. Like, I mean, I hate to say it because, like, it's the cheapest and easiest, or at least people think it's the cheapest and easiest way to get a reaction out of an audience, but it's really not. Like, it has to be done with
Like,
such language as
I'm gonna get
to make
into,
it disturbing.
Yeah, like I'm gonna get into some gore stuff here, and it's just gonna be like I'm just gonna be so bored. That's my problem
Like,
with it.
if you do it properly, writing a gore story about someone stubbing their toe is 1,000 times more disturbing than this.
Yeah. Anyways.
You guys remember that scene from SpongeBob where Squid? No, you remember that scene from SpongeBob
Yeah. Shut up.
Where
Yeah,
Squidward
we
commits suicide? Yeah.
No, they
Fuck
stubbed
off. Fuck
Squidward.
you. We're not.
Squidward stubs his toe, and he like rips his nail out. That was more gory than this.
True.
No, more disturbing, not more gory.
His mother had been sleeping soundly in her
Shut up, you
No.
down the knuckles.
beside her husband.
No, we're not letting you get away with it like
No,
this.
if I
No,
can't-
no.
If I can't
No.
do Carl Weezer, you can't do Uganda Knuckles.
We're not letting you get away with this line by reading it like a silly voice. You have to be reading it in the voice you were doing, so you suffer.
Yes.
I actually refuse.
You have no choice in the matter.
Up and
No,
walked out
You
the
have
no,
no
serious
choice.
voice. No, a serious voice, Finn.
No.
I will kick you from the call.
No, that's not a threat. That's what he wants.
I'll do a serious voice.
Suffer,
He's gonna do Bane, isn't he?
suffer like the rest of us.
Gradually got up
Oh my god, how did I know?
and
Uh.
it was pouring outside, and thunder boomed in the distance. She approached the door, but paused before grabbing the knob. She detected a faint sound of insane laughter. The rain and thunder seemed to quiet down suddenly. She pressed her ear against the door and listened closely. Hello, Mr. Wayne. Oh wait, that's Natalie. Well,
Stop, Ma.
hello,
Hey, Ma!
mother. No, I'm not doing. You want me to cap?
Hey, Ma!
Ah! Hey, hello, mother! A voice from the other side called out. Natalie burst through the door, wielding 2 knives. Her mother stopped
Dual
back,
wielding.
hitting her head against a nearby coat rack. One of the hooks penetrated her skull, and she bled considerably from the resulting wound. She fell to the ground, paralyzed, much like I did to Mr. Wayne. But still conscious, laying in a pool of her own blood, Natalie towered over her, and she knelt slowly to meet her mother's eye level, and displayed her blood-soaked blades proudly. I was, suffering, Ma. Natalie cooed. She ran the tip of the knife across her mother's chest, cutting it slightly.
Cheek.
Natalie, fuck you! Natalie tilted her head. But, you didn't do nothing. All her mother could do was shake and gasp like a fish out of water. Natalie, I'm gonna have to do a silly voice when we actually get into the gore, by the way, because I was
No.
so bored.
Fucking just read it deadpan to show how fucking stupid it is.
And
Just read it deadpan,
well, I
man.
want it to be, fuck you, cunt. Gently laid her flat on the ground. From there, she straddled her. And began to V into her chest.
V for Vendetta?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Like, did they just rip that straight from V for Vendetta?
Yeah, why not?
Like, did this happen to just be on TV when they were writing the story?
Her mother
Did it actually happen to be in England?
and her breaths became labored. Natalie knew she didn't have much time left. She proceeded to forcibly open her mother's chest cavity with a loud crack, reached in and grabbed her mother's still beating heart with her bare hand. Its pulses were growing farther and farther apart. Ooh, meditate. This story is not what I would describe as kosher, my friends. Suddenly she ripped it out, blood spraying all over her face. She stared at her mother directly in the face as she took her final breaths.
Kalima! Kalima!
Hey, sweet dreams, she said to her mother's corpse. Your time was kinda up there.
Your time was kinda now. You can't see me.
Now. You can't really see me because I'm fucking Tony Savannah. She put the heart into her mother's mouth, patted her cheek softly, and stood up. She wasn't done yet.
Some fucking Indiana Jones shit, right?
Natalie's father, David,
No!
had stood awake and had realized that his wife had not returned to bed yet. His eyes had only just adjusted to the darkness when he suddenly noticed Natalie standing at his bedside with a gray smirk plastered on her face.
I mean, this is literally stolen right out of fucking Jeff the Killer.
Her newly green-tinted eyes glowing in the darkness. She covered in blood, and the scent was unbearable. She frowned dramatically. Oh dear, mother's gone. I wonder who will get the money. Natalie jeered. She swiftly grabbed her father's forehead, laughing maniacally. That's all you ever cared about anyway. Her father, unlike her mother, was a fighter, and he sprung up and grabbed Natalie. He was a fucking me in Smash Ultimate. Sprung up and grabbed her by the neck and threw her to the ground. He started to stomp on her chest until she coughed up blood, and he stared down at her.
Slippery little bastard, ain't ya?
Slippery little bastard, ain't ya?
Come here, coward!
Imagining the father of Alex Jones.
Hey,
It's so much better.
Hang on. You guys are gonna get to hear some shit. Hey, doesn't it feel good, Daddy?
Hey, Pop! Don't it feel good?
Don't it feel good, Pop? She laughed in spite of the violence and coughed up more blood. Hey, after all, you never seemed to mind doing it all those years ago, did you? He narrowed his eyes. You are my daughter. A wider smirk spread across her face, and she peered at him with her luminous eyes, blood dripping down her mouth. You're right, I'm not. I'm your fucking son, I'm Tony. She suddenly tripped him, causing him to fall hard to the floor. She scrambled to her feet, knives in hand. They say the bigger you are, the harder they fall. While he was...
Wait. She got it wrong. It's either the bigger they are, the harder they fall, or the bigger you are, the harder you fall. But she said the bigger you are, the harder they fall.
See, this story is fucking dog shit.
I know, but just that, I don't know why, but that specifically bothers me a lot.
While he was winded, she grabbed a pillow and stuffed it into his face, and then stomped on it harder and harder until loud cracking noises could be heard. When she finally pulled the pillow away, her father's face was gruesomely mutilated, and he was making muffled noises, crying in agony.
Do it. Do the Tony Savannah.
What's the matter, Daddy? Too much for you?
What, are you doing fucking wolf now?
I'm trying not to do wolf.
What's
She
the
shoved
matter,
both
Daddy?
knives-
Paid too much for you?
She shoved both knives into his stomach and left them there, then moved to rip one of the large, heavy wooden poles from the bed. She set it down on her father's leg and
Honestly,
withdrew
I'm kind
the
of jealous.
knives.
This isn't usually how it goes when I fight my dad. Usually he beats me.
Bitch, we both know that's a lie. Sorry, all three of us know that's a lie.
Gonna need these. She chuckled and sat down upon the pole laid on his legs. Suddenly, she started to roll back. While sitting down, the weight from her body on the pole slowly started to squeeze his innards up through his body. He started to gag. The blood poured from his mouth, his breath was silenced, and she hit a bit of a snag. Hearn! Come on! She snarled as she forced
Show me a move!
back with more weight. Suddenly, his organs burst out of his mouth. The nasty gore piled onto the floor on the side of his face. She nodded to his carcass and started to walk out. Your time was up, Daddy.
Wait,
Your time was now, Daddy.
Finally, this would be her favorite part.
Call, bro.
That's David.
Oh, David?
I told him to run while he still could.
Holy shit!
David? You should not be here. This is awful.
Run.
We're
David,
torturing
come here.
ourselves.
David,
Get out.
David, come here.
Come here, what, like drive over to your house?
No, come here.
What?
Uh,
What do you mean by come
Finn,
here?
send him the link. Wait, I have the link.
oh, no, I don't want to expose David to this.
Also,
No,
we're
David,
like
come here.
way far in right now.
David,
Also,
come here.
I don't want,
David is a sweet, innocent little boy.
No, he isn't. He's a little bitch, and he's gonna read it like the rest of us, because he's a man.
No.
One of you
First
has to send
problem, you
one
said
of you has to send the
reading.
link, because I'm currently recording.
Here, keep
I
it
besides-
sent
Don't
me the link.
Don't worry, I sent it to him.
Also, besides, the story doesn't make sense without the context from the first, for the fifth
No, shut up.
paragraph.
It's fine. No, shut up. It's fine.
But you do also realize, Kiefer, you said the word reading.
You know,
Oh
it's
yeah,
fine.
that's also a good point.
You can just read it out loud, I'll fill in the gaps.
Yeah, you don't have to read if you don't want to.
Okay.
You can just
I'll
listen.
just... Yeah.
Alright, so,
let me just
I'll-
load up Audible, aka Kiefer.
Okay.
Okay,
Pick what voice.
Audible?
Click what voice you would like to listen to.
I want... Fuck, what's the guy's name?
You can either
The guy
have.
that read like 50 Shades of Grey super sexually.
Oh no! Not Gilbert God. I can't do Gilbert Godfrey.
Gilbert Godfrey!
You have your choice of Carl Weezer, Obama, Alex Jones, or just a normal voice.
You know...
What the fuck is going on right now?
Carl.
You want to hear some Carl Weezer?
I want to hear some Carl action.
Also, if you want to do a Gilbert Godfrey, it's a little something like this.
Yeah, but Gilbert Godfrey requires me to yell, and I don't want to scream.
Your time was up, Daddy. Finally, this would be her favorite part. She quietly snuck down to her brother's room, silently opening the door. Blood dripped from her knife, making a low tapping sound as the droplets hit the hard wood. Her brother wasn't in bed. It was apparent that he must be hiding somewhere. She grinned. Oh, dear brother, come now. She started to walk inside. All I want to do is have a little fun. Ha 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 ha. As she stepped in more, she listened closely for any sounds, any breathing, any moving. She even sniffed the air for his putrid scent. And the closer she listened, she finally noticed something. A faint breathing noise. Whack!
She fell to the ground, trembling. Her brother was behind her, with a now bloodied baseball. He was glaring down with anger, panting in rage. She tried to slowly get up, but he hit her again, and again, and again.
Kiefer. Hello?
What?
Can you guys
Hmm?
hear me?
You got really quiet, dude.
Mother always did like you best, you bitch.
Bitch, this isn't your line.
No, it's still my
I
line.
know I had to go for it though.
I'm just trying to fix my audio.
I'm actually really afraid of whenever Kiefer's gonna switch. Because I just really don't want to read this.
Wait, did we ever give the brother a voice?
Yes.
He was Carl Weezer.
Yeah, he was.
He was Carl Weezer, yes.
Alright,
Mother always did like you best, you bitch!
He hit her hard one last time before taking a breather. She was bleeding heavily, green eyes drooped and glowing faintly.
I feel like you're not exaggerating the fact. Oh, sorry, no, it's never mind.
She
Can we
felt
just
weak
get,
and
like, a
looked
10
closer
like,
up to the ceiling.
10-second TLDR on what I've missed.
You're
She
Ah.
recalled the days she had spent in here, being tortured having to go through it for 4 years, looking at that same damn ceiling. It sent a sudden rush of energy into her body, and she started to stand, laughing insanely. Ha 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 ha. Her brother went to hit her again. Her brother went to hit her again, but used both of her knives to block it.
Wait, her brother used what? Can you read that? Can you run that by me again?
Her brother went to hit her again, but used both of her knives to block it.
So,
So her brother went to swing, but her brother blocked it using both of her knives.
dude, very cool. I didn't know her stand was her brother.
Oh shit.
Do, 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 do,
This next fucking line kills me.
do, 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 do. Okay, you're going to hell, brother.
No, that is not how it's written. Also, that's not hell.
That's hell. You're going to hell, brother.
You are going to Heil, brother!
You are going to Heil Hitler, brother!
You shall Heil! He's sing Heil!
You're going to Heil, brother!
With a large push, she sent her brother flying onto the bed. He hit his head against the wall and growled angrily, about to lunge at her, when she stabbed the 2 knives into his arms, keeping them pinned on the wall. He screamed and struggled
I don't
rapidly.
think that's how anything works.
Oh, okay, okay. Alright,
Half-
I have this entire last bit here, and then I'm done.
Okay.
Wait, but can you guys hear me?
Wait,
No.
are you planning to read up until the break?
Let's see what we can use here. She started walking around the room and smirked, seeing a simple butter knife on his bedside. She picked it up and walked over to him.
Why the fuck does he have a butter knife?
They
Would it
say that the eyes are the softest organs on the body. She slowly licked the knife.
Would have been better
Soft
if he had a
as
spoon.
butter. I need to grab 2 spoons. Give me a second. BRB grabbing spoons.
BRB grabbing spoon.
Oh god.
Soft as butter. He looked in horror, trying to get away, and she started to dig out his eyes with the knife. He shrieked loudly, and she quickly tied a cloth around his mouth. Now, we can't have you waking the neighbors. He wasn't able to see anything. The pain was unbearable. Blood leaked violently from his eye sockets. He would cry, but now he was incapable.
I'd like to point out, they say the eyes are the softest organs on the body. Who says that?
People.
Eyeballs are literally a ball of muscle.
She
Not
dug
gonna
around for
lie,
more items
Finn,
and picked up a
that
pair of
sounds
scissors.
like the fucking crafting noise in The Witcher 3, and I legit thought that something was being crafted. And
She
I got
walked over-
so confused.
She walked over to him, crawling over him. I think you need to cut loose, brother. She stabbed the scissors into his gut,
I think
and
you
he,
need to cut loose, brother.
she stabbed the
WrestleMania. You need to cut loose on WrestleMania Thursday.
She stabbed the scissors into his gut, and he cried out in a muffled scream of pain. She treated him like arts and crafts, cutting through his skin like paper. She lifted up his large intestine and smirked.
Ooh. Ooh, my. His large intestine.
Make Darcy go. Make him read that fucking line.
No, he said he was gonna read till the break.
No, you're going, Darcy. I say.
Bitch!
Hello?
So says me.
No, no. Sorry, I just got interrupted.
Did I already loot everything?
She treated him like arts and crafts, cutting through his skin like paper. She lifted up his large intestine and smirked wickedly. You know what I love? Macaroni art. She started to cut the intestine into sections.
You know what
These
I
are
love,
my feet.
John? Macaroni.
Alright.
No, her dad was Wolf.
I'm gonna do the rest of these in like a Tony Savannah.
Okay.
These might be a little bit too big to put on a plate, though. I tell ya. She could hear his brother foaming blood from the mouth.
So she became a boy.
Yeah.
Fucking God.
He had to swallow the blood back because of the cloth around his mouth. Hey, don't that taste good, eh? She licked the blood off her fingers. Sure, no, I like it. He let out another muffled scream. She went down to his toes and started cracking them and ripping them off one by one. After a while, his screams grew futile. His throat was raw and bloody by now. Next, she worked on his fingers, snapping them and ripping them off slowly. The gurgling became louder, and he started to squirm. He was choking on his own blood. She pulled the cloth down.
Fucking bad.
Sorry,
And
so
blood
I just like
poured
to
from
point
her
out, so she's ripping off his toes. So I think it's safe to say we can add super strength to the list of superpowers she has for no reason.
Yep.
Well, I mean, she was able to dodge a bullet.
I'm not saying that it's incredibly bullshit.
Her leather restraints as well.
I'd like to point out, I'm not saying that it's not bullshit for the story so far. I'm just saying it's bullshit in general.
Yeah, no, it's really dumb. This whole story's really dumb, though.
The gurgling became louder, and he started to squirm. He was choking on his own blood. She pulled the cloth down, and blood poured from his mouth, and turned his head to the side and vomited violently.
I love using "and" twice in the same sentence. I love starting a sentence with "and" lowercase.
You can start a sentence with "and," but like not in this.
Patting his head.
That.
I eat some of these over here and feel better. I tell you. She stuffed one of his fingers in his mouth, making it jam into his throat. He choked and slowly died. I'm sorry, bro, but your time was up. I tell you.
You don't say bro, you say brother.
Brother, I tell you, brother, your time was up. I tell you.
Brother's like butter.
Your brother, I tell you, brother.
Jesus Christ.
The girl known as Natalie.
I'm done. I'm no longer reading anymore.
The girl known as Natalie, walking into her room dripping blood. Off to the corner, she saw it. Her stuffed giraffe. She knelt down and stared at it.
Oh, this is the dumbest
Without
part
a
of the
word?
fucking story.
I'd like to point out, I'm skipping half of these fucking pauses because there's just too many. Literally, she knelt down and stared at it. Then, without a word, she stood back up and walked to the bathroom. Staring at herself, covered in blood, she heard a faint tickling noise. She looked down and saw a pocket watch.
What, tickling? Oh no, ticking noise. You fucked
Sorry,
up.
ticking noise. But like,
Tickling
all the
noise.
fucking pauses.
Every third word, there was a pause.
Sometimes it's only one word. She stared at it, and she stared at it. Its hands slowly turning. Why, if this pocket watch was important, why was it introduced before? Because fuck you, that's why.
True.
Listening to the
It's
ticking
not important, actually.
for what seemed like an eternity. She took out one of her now red knives as it heavily dripped blood onto the counter. She grabbed the pocket watch and disassembled the watch
What?
until only the small clock was left. What?
What?
Was there like a
What?
bunch of bonus clocks in this one? What do you mean? What do you think a pocket watch is? It's
the
just a
fucking-
clock.
It's like the
It is
Corn
a small
Pops-
clock.
The Corn Pops bonus toy.
There was a smaller clock with inside the pocket watch, which is already a small clock. Time makes you live through the torture, she said, slowly bringing the knife up to her eye. Slowly progressing through life, being controlled by society. She started to slowly
It's a
dig into
society.
her eye, as the vision in her left eye grew blurry and red. Until you find this no longer have a purpose. That was a horrible Tony.
Yeah, that
She
was
felt her
That
eye
was.
start to come free from its socket. Blood poured into the sink. It's a vicious cycle, really.
Oh god, you're still reading Clockwork?
She felt it dangle out of her socket, a sharp pain where it connected in her head. Time does not speed up. It does not slow down. It is violent. She grabbed onto the cord of her eye and tore it right off, the eye falling into the sink. It makes you live through the torture over and over again. She started to place the clock in her eye,
Oh,
to
what?
fast forward away from it. There was
Stop,
a
Terrence.
no, it's fitting. It's fitting. There was a squishing sound
Ooh.
and drips of blood until it seemed like the clock would fit perfectly in her socket.
So she just
I
happened to have
am-
an eye-shaped and sized pocket watch that was never brought up before. Cool, bro.
No, she had to squish it in there. Just,
Yeah.
she had to brute force it.
Well, like, I'm assuming you can't brute force it against the skull.
Also, don't forget, she had to disassemble it, so only the pocket.
Only the bonus clock was left.
Yep.
I am Clockwork.
Oh, that.
The young...
Finn? Oh.
Mm,
I was gonna say Finn should take us home.
Okay.
Oh, if you want Finn to take us home, okay.
What voice should I use?
None.
Tony Savannah for the
Paul,
rest of it.
Don't read it. Cry
Tony
and...
Savannah
Hey,
for the
young
rest of it.
16-year-old doll, formerly known as Natalie, walked away from a burning house. The flames engulfed everything, and inside the giraffe slowly burned, along with the carcasses of a family. Some say she still lives on, carrying her insanity with her. That's a fucking weird way to say that. That is a fucking weird way to say that over there. Leaving so many dead, saying she decided when their time should come to an end. The only way to detect her presence is if you cuddle close in the covers of the night, sleeping soundly, but in the darkness, she watches, she determines, you hear ticking. There's no fucking way after disassembling that clock that it still
Yo,
fucking
she
ticks.
just- It's the bonus clock, remember? It's hidden
It's
inside the
bonus
clock.
clock. It's magic, I guess. Fuck. I don't fucking know. I don't know magic.
she has super fixing powers.
And you see a green flash of that putrid clock eye. If she is there, you know your time is up. And your time is now. You can't see me, your time is now. It's the franchise, but I'm shining now. You can't see me, your time is now.
John Cena.
Alright, that was Clockwork.
Fuck
I
me.
want to read some of the comments.
No, I want to die.
No, hear me out. From Lucky Bloodlust in 2019. I'm tired of people criticizing good, hard work. Gore can really scare some people, especially someone afraid of being killed violently. I think most people are afraid of being killed.
Violent.
Or is
Especially
because she
being-
wanted their last living moments to be absolute hell. None of you know how old the person is, so bad grammar could be the fact that the person is young. There are young horror fiction writers, by the way.
Oh yeah,
You
this
are gonna
person is
hate
9.
on someone's grammar, at least make
Actually?
your comment readable. And it's not the writing that matters, it's the story. It's not like the whole thing is in written format, but the writing doesn't matter, right, bro?
Okay, the comment I would like to highlight.
Sure, but it's okay to have rape be in the story as nothing more than a plot device.
Bottom. Fucking Red Anchor, you're Chad.
I'd just like to point out. Here's the comment I would like to highlight from Sprite X Soul.
Oh no.
Ek.
I see that.
I feel like an asshole.
That gets a thumbs up from me.
The only thing worse than someone writing at a third grade level is someone writing at a third grade level who clearly has never watched a movie or TV show or read a book or a magazine or even has stuck their head outside a window or looked around at the world. There's no such thing as a psychotic laughing. I mean, seriously, it requires absolutely zero effort to research any of the topics touched upon in this turd of a piece. Mental illness? Nope, not how any of that works. Rape survival? Nope, not how that works. Family strife? Nope, not how that works. I mean, in what world do you think her mother would take her to a shrink immediately after massively self-mutilating without taking her to a hospital having the stitches taken out? Oh, and just a bonus since you really decided to go a whole hog, what on earth makes you think that a hospital guard would have a giant sheathed knife on their belt? I'd let go of some of the 1,000 things the author gets wrong there if they're actually anything they ever got right, or if they at some point realized their error. But no, this is a turd that wouldn't end.
Okay,
Okay, I have a question.
No, shut up. I want to read
No.
a comment string started by Purple Helmet. If Clockwork ever died, she would be burning in hell with her family. Violence is not always the way. She could have called child services. And response by Shadow for God. I respect violence, and I'm Catholic, but I don't give a shit. I'm fine with hell. Sure, it's endless torture or anything, but I'd eventually become numb, like I am in real life. Smiley face emoji.
Dude, try not to cut yourself on that edge, goddamn.
Just the smiley face emoji at the end fucking kills me.
Oh, did I just find a bunch of orphans?
Clockwork is my favorite. I'm a CreepyPasta nerd.
I can personally attest that aside from the killing, chunks of this story are autobiographical. The author has long disowned this train wreck. Well, that's good. So what do you guys? Let's go. Darcy, give us a review of Clockwork.
Blow my fucking brains out, asshole.
Money. I don't want their money. What did they?
Kiefer,
Oh, they
what's
gave
your
me a
review of Clockwork?
doll.
Blow my fucking brains out, asshole.
So, I just
Ooh.
want to say, fuck this author. Fuck me. Blow my fucking brains all over my keyboard. I want to die now.
Where's my new bestiary update?
I'm gonna stop the recording. I have serious mental problems. I have depression now.